What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Hello, the Internet. My name is Jack O'Brien. I'm the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new comedic news podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist.
And I'm Miles Gray, Jack's co-host. The Daily Zeitgeist is a daily comedic news podcast for people who like Crack.com. Are you okay? Do you want some water?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, well, also, if you like podcasts from How Stuff Works, and getting the news from some of the funniest and smartest comedic and journalistic minds around, go to Apple Podcasts to listen and subscribe.
I think we got that.
A lot of times they do those now like on lettuce wraps. A lot of people are doing sandwiches and things like that on lettuce wraps.
We aren't feeding rabbits here, okay?
Golic has
feeding human beings.
Golic and paying off another bet to me. Yet another bet.
Yeah.
Going out with a bang on these bets.
Oh.
Golic lost a bet to me on which quarterback would be drafted first this year, and as a result, he has catered a delightful breakfast for the entire staff.
It's a hearty breakfast. It's a filling breakfast.
The staff is really happy that you won. You lost that one. You lost. The staff won. As far as what the breakfast buffet is this morning. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll have Lincoln Riley, the coach of Oklahoma, coming up in just a couple of minutes here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I want to simplify that note I gave you on Vegas a minute ago because a lot of people don't understand the way this stuff works necessarily. When I was saying the note on the Auburn-Georgia game, to put it as simply as we can, with the way the public loves Georgia, the line should be moving in one direction, but instead it's moving in the other. And that would suggest, for lack of an easier way of putting it, good things for Auburn, as far as the sharps are concerned. The people who know what they're doing, the people who actually make money betting in Vegas, would say that makes Auburn look like a good bet. Now, it's only Wednesday, and a lot can change between now and then. But that's the note, and it boiled down to its simplest that I was
So when you say a lot can change, what you mean is where the betting goes.
Right.
Nothing's going to change amongst the teams.
No.
Mind you. This has nothing to do with the actual players and the teams.
No, the wagering.
Okay.
The wagering
it's
is what can
that
change.
we're talking about, yes.
All right, so we have that. Then I want to play you this because I haven't heard it myself either. I heard about it. And I heard a good deal of the Le Batard show yesterday, but I did not hear this part. So we made this bet. You and Le Batard made this bet. You both got kind of suckered into it by me and a little bit by Stu Gatz.
Yeah.
But you made the bet. So the loser of the Notre Dame-Miami game this weekend, the loser of that wager between the two of you, has to give Stu Gatz a massage. It was actually Dan who brought into it a glute massage.
Yeah, he did.
Which only makes it worse than it already sounded. So I'm told that on the show yesterday, Le Batard tried to sort of get me involved in this. I haven't heard this yet, so let's listen to it together. This is from the Dan Le Batard show with Stu Gatz yesterday.
How does Greenberg frolic on the fringes without contributing anything to the cause?
That's a great point because you graduated from Miami. Golic graduated and played at Notre Dame. I'm involved. Greeny's the only person who is not involved. I think Greeny should have to massage me.
No, I think this is the way that it should work, just to save everybody money. And I am recalibrating the bet right now, Golic, because you guys suckered me into your radio hijinks. So this is the new bet. If I lose, I have to massage Stugatz's glutes on air. But if you lose, Golic, you have to massage Greenberg's glutes on air. That's the way we do that. Not Stugatz flown into Bristol for those greedy, lecherous paws of Golic. As one of your final acts on the show, you have to massage Greenberg's glutes if Notre Dame loses.
Now, neither of us.
I had not heard that.
Neither of us was present for this conversation.
No.
So we could not defend ourselves. So,
No.
Let's ask this question this way. If given the choice between massaging Stugatz or massaging me, which would you rather do? I mean, and at the risk of
where is death in this?
Floating my own horn. It's an option.
Yeah.
But I mean, let me put it this way. I'm the cleanest person you're ever going to come across. Does Stugatz look cleanly?
No.
No. Do I? I'm pretty cleanly. You've known me for 18 years. You've made fun of how clean I am.
Yeah, I have.
You could eat dinner off me. Okay? You could eat off me anytime you wanted to. I am germ free. I am like I live my whole life as close to being wrapped in saran wrap as a person conceivably can.
If we did this part of the bet,
yeah,
which I don't really want to do.
Nor do I.
Would you root for Miami? So I would have to massage you?
No, in this case, I think I'd actually hold on, where's my song? I got the song for you right here. Hold on a second.
You'd root for Notre Dame?
Yes, I want you to massage Stugatz or Lebitard to massage Stugatz. I have someone else who gives me massages.
Listen,
I don't need to get massaged by Lebitard or by you. That doesn't sound good to me.
I understand both sides of it. It should be a Dan and I bet, and Stugatz got thrown into it. So they're basically saying, why should Stugatz get thrown into this and you not?
Because he's Stugatz. This is what he does. He gets thrown into things like this. He shaves his head. He does. I mean, that's why the joke was the loser should have to massage Stugatz. No one said the loser should have to massage Greeny. I don't get thrown into the middle of these things. Stugatz does. This is his lot in life. If that's your lot, then that's what you do. His lot is to be that guy.
I have a stomach ache.
Well, wait until you have to massage Stugatz. Okay, thank goodness something else can happen now. The latest college football playoff rankings are out, and there was no change in the top 5 of the rankings. Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Oklahoma are the top 5. And joining us now to talk about it on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, the head coach of the Sooners, getting set for a huge game this weekend against TCU. Lincoln Riley is back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Doing well.
We're doing great, and here's what we love to do, and that's why this stuff is so great. We have sat here, and we've worked out basically every conceivable hypothetical possibility involving you winning this week, and who wins, and they win, and all that kind of stuff. We pay enormous amounts of attention to this because we don't have any better way to occupy our time. How closely do you follow what goes on during the season as far as the rankings this committee puts out?
Not very much, honestly. I think part of it is being involved as much as we are with our team and trying to get them ready to go. And then I think part of it is just, I think the confidence that I have in this league, how strong the league has been this year. I think it's one of the strongest years in recent memory for the Big 12, and just very confident that whichever team takes care of business is going to be in great shape as far as the playoffs concerned.
And that's how you deal with it, but how do you deal with how your players deal with it, who are 18 to 22-year-olds who live on Twitter and see it all over Twitter after the ranking show goes on to see where Oklahoma is or where their team is on why this team should be in this position? Do you talk to your players about it? Because you know that they're reading about it and discussing about it and on Twitter about it.
Sure. No, we definitely do. I think it'd be naive of us to think that they're not looking at it. And so we just try to give them perspective, and help them understand that just like preseason rankings, these rankings don't matter. The ones that matter are going to be here in 3 or 4 weeks. And so, you've got to take care of business each and every week. You can't have slip ups, and you got to play your best ball at the end of the year. And so that's if we do that, then I think we'll be where we want to be in those rankings here in a few weeks.
Mike and Mike, head coach Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. I mentioned huge game ahead of you against TCU, but quickly let's look back on your win over Oklahoma State this weekend in the game known as Bedlam, and it was most certainly that. When you walk off the field after a game like that, your team has won, but there were 114 points scored. What are the thoughts going through the mind of a head coach when you win a game but your defense allowed as many points as it did Saturday?
First, we beat a what I think is a top 10 team on the road in a great atmosphere. And I don't care if you do it 3-0 or 62-52. Winning on the road is hard, and that was a big win for us in our program, and was really proud of all our players. You go back and look at it. There's still certainly some things we could do better on all sides of the ball. We didn't play well defensively the first half. had to kick a couple field goals offensively, had a couple of turnovers. So, we certainly didn't play perfect by any means, but we found a way to win. We beat another very good football team there. Of course, you're going to make the corrections that you got to make, and always try to do better the next time. That's going to happen regardless of the outcome. But to go into that place against that great a team with the senior quarterback, all the weapons that they have offensively, and to find a way to win the football game when we weren't at our best, that's about as good as it gets.
Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Along those lines, when there's so much that the committee and or the public parse through, is that some say, boy, how can you put a team up there that's gave up 52 points or that's given up 27 points a game, and the rep, however you want to look at it or whatever the perception is of what the defenses are in the Big 12. Do you feel like you as a league are fighting that all the time, and what's your response to people who make that argument?
Well, I think you just got to educate them. It's the same defense that went on the road in Columbus, Ohio, and held one of the top offenses in the country to 200 yards under their average and won that game. It's the same defense that went into the Sugar Bowl last year and really shut down Auburn. We get the perception out there. I think people need to begin to look at the other side of it. I think that the offenses in this league are that good, and you're going to face really, really good offenses each and every week, and you don't do that in the other conferences. And that's just a fact of the matter. If any other conference was sitting there playing offenses like ours, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, several of the others that you've got in this league, it'd be a different story in those leagues too. And again, I think the times when we've had the non-conference matchups, whether it be, like early this year in the non-conference games, or again, going back and looking at the bowl games, there's just no way if we play the worst defense in the country as a Big 12 that we would go into the bowls last year and allow the least amount of points per game of any conference when you're having these interconference matchups. So it doesn't make sense. For years and years, it's been, how dominant the SEC's been on defense. There are really good defenses in the SEC, but I also think the offenses, have been a little bit behind, in my opinion. And so the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. We got some teams in this league that can play really good defense, and we've got a lot of high-powered offenses, and that's just the way this league's built.
Lincoln Riley is with us. The one thing no one can question is the record of your quarterback in big games. Oklahoma's won 7 straight against ranked opponents, and Baker Mayfield in those games has thrown 19 touchdowns with 4 picks and has a QBR of 96 out of a possible 100 in those games. Tell us about your quarterback. You're obviously aware of all the Heisman talk that surrounds him and how much he was helped by the huge performance this past weekend. Where are you right now with your quarterback and the notion that he right now feels like the leader for the Heisman Trophy?
He's played well for our team, and honestly, he's not doing much different than he's done the last 3 years. Guy's, been a great player for us, been an emotional leader and spark plug for this team. There's no question. He's probably the thing that's most impressive this year is he's done it with basically a completely new group of skill guys. Been able to adapt to those guys, learn their strengths, get on the same page with them, and still, produce at a high level. So he does a lot for us. Like I said, I know those other things will be for other people to decide, but we're darn sure glad that he's our quarterback, and he's done a tremendous job leading our team.
Do you ever have to calm him down? He's an excitable guy.
He is. You know what? As a sophomore, I did at times, certainly a little bit less last year, not as much this year. He's one of those unique guys that's been able to find a balance between being fiery, all the different things that you see, but then when it's time to play, he's able to focus in and really do his job kind of at a controlled high level. And that's why I think you see all the great plays and all the flair and all that, but you also see a guy that takes care of the football that's, one of the most efficient quarterbacks, if not the most that's ever played college football. I mean, the numbers would back that up. So, he's done a great job of being able to balance the two.
So the game against TCU, a monster game, as we mentioned, there are 7 ranked matchups this week. Certainly one of the top ones is you guys and TCU. So looking at this game and knowing that turnovers is always there and can influence the outcome of a game, other than that, what does your team need to be at its best at to beat a team like TCU?
Quite a bit. They're probably the most complete team that we've played. They're really, really strong defensively. One of the top defenses in the country this year. Coach Patterson always does a great job on that side of the ball, and they're playing really well there. So it'll be a challenge for us. Kenny Hill's back, your quarterback, and playing very well for them, and they've got some of the best offensive skill in the conference. And then one of the most dangerous return men, and Kevontae Turpin. So they can beat you from all three sides, and they've done that throughout the year with other teams. So they're always a challenge. It's been a great series against them. I think I saw maybe the last 5 games have all been decided by 7 points or less. So it's been a tremendous matchup over the years, and I'm sure it will again here Saturday night.
All right, should be a lot of fun to watch. Coach, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on a fascinating week, and obviously no rest for the weary. Big one this weekend. Good luck, and thanks again for today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Lincoln Riley with us. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance on Baker Mayfield. He could become, in fact, I'll go so far as to say right now, is going to become the first quarterback to finish in the top 4 of the Heisman voting 3 different times.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to win it, but I think he's going to finish in the top 4, almost for sure. I guess if they lose this weekend and he doesn't play well,
would have been. Tebow was 5th one year, his senior year, right? He won it, and then I think he was in the top 3, and I think he was 5th. That last year, but he would have been the closest to that with possibly Baker being in the top 4 and absolutely the front runner right now. No doubt about that.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you played in these games and you played in, well, I don't want to ask this like I'm knocking you, but the teams you were on Notre Dame, you didn't play on great teams.
Nope.
Did you play huge games? I mean, did you have games over the course of a season this?
The biggest game that one of our biggest wins was my sophomore year. We played Pitt in Pitt. They were 7-0. I believe they were 7-0. Number 1 in the country. Marino was the quarterback. Their whole line ended up in the NFL. And we went to their place and we beat them. That was probably the biggest win I had while I was there. We had some others, went down to LSU and had a big win there against a ranked team. But nothing. Again, we were independent, so there was never a conference, and we were never going to a major bowl with the records that I had. Went to the Liberty Bowl and the Aloha Bowl, so never a lot riding on it outside of the USC rivalries, playing Michigan, and then when we were playing some high-ranked teams.
So we almost have to ask Mikey, what is the difference between a college kid getting ready to play in one of these games versus an NFL player? How does it feel different? How different is it? I think the job of the coach is so different in getting these kids ready to play. I mean, look what happened to Ohio State. You can say whatever you want, and I'm not taking a darn thing away from Iowa. Iowa is good. They're much better than people in the country give them generally credit for being. But they're not 21 points better than Ohio State.
Right.
Ohio State comes from this huge, comes all the way from behind in this incredibly dramatic comeback, beats Penn State. Everyone in the world is talking about them. Oh, they've played their way back into the championship race.
Right.
And a week later, they got to get set to play a good team on the road, and they lay a total egg. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not saying Iowa couldn't have beaten them normally.
Right, but not that big a score.
Them off the field.
I get it.
Ohio State, that happened. It's tough. So now you're Oklahoma. You just went into Oklahoma State. That's your rival. You beat them 62-52 or whatever the final score. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And now you've got, now Tuesday it comes out and you're number 5 in the country. And now you got to get ready to go play another really good team 6 days later. I think for a coach, that's got to be a little bit tough.
It is. I think also the biggest difference from the NFL to college is dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds.
That's what I mean.
Where in the pros, it's their job. This is all they do. Here, you're college kids with college emotion. So, it can be tougher for Mike and Jake. I mean, before the title game, when they became number 1, and back then you had to be 1 or 2, in that old system. When they became number 1, now you had to take care of your business and win. And the last game of the season was against Notre Dame's biggest rival in USC. So that was a monster game to know it's your rival, but you have to win it to be where the only place a Notre Dame is happy to be as far as being in the national title hunt. Then one of the biggest differences between college and pro is there were 44 days in between that.
Right.
And, obviously.
That's that game.
Yeah, that's
right. A whole different
animal.
That's
a whole different animal,
I'm
without
talking
question.
About, like, if you're playing for the Eagles, and one week you've got Dallas, and that one's for first place in the division, and the next week you're playing the Giants, and they're one game behind you. You're pros. You know how to put one game behind you.
You're supposed to, but it happens there as well. Listen, in the pros, they lay eggs as well. It's difficult to explain. You're sitting there on the sideline. I've been part of those games where you're like, this shouldn't be happening. There is no way we should be losing to this team with what we have right. I definitely had more situations in the pros where something was riding on it.
Do you remember one?
God, off the top of my head, I mean,
do you think there's that kind of? I guess what I'm asking is that kind of emotional carryover from a big game to the next week.
We have to say there has to be something. I mean, emotional to physical, because yes, I've been in games where we're on the sideline going, "This should not be happening. There's no way we should be losing to this team, or they should be beating us this badly, or this should be going on." But it happens. And we're asked because we're players to put our finger on it, but it's very difficult because you look at the week, I guarantee you the preparation is Oklahoma coming off that big win, but now it's TCU. They're grinding. They're getting after it. They understand the ramifications. So it's not like, we beat Oklahoma State. Now we got TCU coming. We can all take a breather and not watch our film and not work as hard in the weight room or anything like that. I guarantee you that doesn't go on. You're working just as hard knowing the ramifications of the game, but sometimes you get to the game and you don't get that bounce your way. You get things working against you. You get a couple of calls against you, and then mentally that can affect you. Certainly we can ask Herm that as well, but at every level that can happen to you, and you stand there on the sideline and you say, how is this happening? I guarantee Ohio State was thinking that last weekend. How is this happening? There's no way it should be happening.
Right. And again, that to me is easier to picture with a bunch of kids who probably celebrate like crazy, and I don't mean that in any negative way. I just mean like emotionally exhale in a huge way, and I can picture that it would be somewhat difficult to get, like you and I, we have this job all these years that you kind of have to be the same every day.
Every day,
you have a sense of consistency that you have to have every single day. But then there are those moments that just kind of stand out. You'll have something really huge happen or whatever it is, and then you got to put that behind you and you got to go on. But, like I'm 50 and you're 53 and we know how to do this stuff. Whereas if you're 19 or 20 or whatever it is and you go back to school and everyone's carrying you around on their shoulders, and now you got to be in there watching film.
Yeah, then more's riding on the next game. Yeah, could be tough.
So I think that's an interesting thing. Okay, a story just came across.
54, by the way.
54.
I know I look 53.
Listen, you look 3 years younger than you looked in. We just showed in these flashback clips they're showing. We showed one that was only 3 years ago. It was when we did the butt photo.
Yeah.
And we showed. I'm telling you, you look 5 years younger now than you looked 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You're getting younger as we go forward.
I am Benjamin Button.
All right, we have a very interesting story that I'm going to get you to next. Herm Edwards will be in our studio, and we'll talk about it. One team seems to be making, or at least taking the first steps towards making, what I think would be one of the most interesting decisions of the upcoming NFL offseason.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Tomorrow at this time, we'll be talking to Shefty, Adam Schefter, but right now,
you play to win the game.
He's here to play and win the game. The one and only Herm Edwards is in our studio. Good morning, Herman.
Good morning. Good to be here. It's kind of interesting. 8 weeks left for most teams, right? If you've got 4 wins, you do the math. You're telling your team, you're not telling them, but you understand. Players realize, hey, if we go 6-2 these last 8 games. So
is that where you are as a coach? You guys do it in quarters. You just finished, obviously, the halfway poll here. So is that the message now? Obviously, depend. So let's take the message if you're a top team, and then take a message if you're a bottom team.
Yeah, if you're one of those teams with 4 wins, even though it might not look good, you might be 4-4, and you're sitting there and you're trying to look at a team maybe has a 2-game lead in your division. Let's just say the AFC West. You got to look at yourself and say, look, we got 8 games left. Can we win 6 out of 8? If we can do that, we're going to get 10 wins. We might not win a division, but we're probably going to get in the playoffs. So I think a lot of teams are still alive, and that's what you're preaching.
All right, so then I want to start, however, with the story that I teased a moment ago, which involves a team that is definitely not still in it. But it's interesting news. ESPN's Jordan Renan is reporting that the New York Giants have been given a directive by their ownership. Let me just read this to you instead of trying to talk through it and doing it as badly as I am. There was a directive given several weeks ago by co-owner of the New York Giants, John Mara, to start looking closely at the top college quarterbacks. This occurred around the time it became apparent that the Giants' season was headed nowhere, in part because Odell Beckham was out with a broken ankle. VP of Player Evaluation Mark Ross, who runs the Giants draft, went personally to scout UCLA quarterback Josh Rosen in recent weeks. Rosen is among the nation's top quarterback prospects. Our FPI projects the Giants will have the 4th pick in the draft. The last time they drafted in the top 5 was 2004. That year they got Eli Manning in the draft. Remember, they didn't take him. They drafted and then traded with Rivers and Manning. But whatever, that's how they got Eli, who turns 37 years old in January. So we look at that information. It can't just mean they're doing their homework, or it can mean that there is a mind at the top of the organization to at least be ready to consider moving on from the Eli Manning era. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I guess I would ask, Herm, it could be a couple of ways. Could be moving on or could be drafting the next guy.
Right.
But Eli's still there, but you know the transition is going to happen. I mean, I don't know if it means you're getting rid of Eli or if it's Eli. Does Eli become a bridge?
Right.
Former number 1 quarterback becoming then a bridge to the next guy. I think Eli would still be the quarterback. I would say you know what you have in him. You've built your defense up. You get your weapons back on offense, and you work on your running game, and you see where you can go with this thing.
Well, yeah, this is the conversation you're having. Is Eli the bridge? Now, you drafted Webb last year. Now, I know it wasn't a high pick.
Right, third-rounder, Davis Webb.
So if you go down this road, you got to ask yourself that question. Is Eli the bridge, or do we trade Eli to get something for him before the draft? I mean, all these scenarios come into play. You know, it's kind of ironic reading this. That was the scenario for the New York Jets coming into the season, right? They were tanking to get the first pick. Well, that ain't going to happen by any stretch of the imagination because they're playing very competitive. So it's kind of interesting. Eli is 37 years old. You know you're going to have to move on now. Does this magnify it? Is this all on Eli? No, but some of it is as well. I mean, he's not playing great by any stretch of the imagination. So what do you do going into next year? I mean, how do you evaluate this team? That's going to be the whole key. And it starts from the coaching staff and goes all the way down to the players. And that's how it works when you have a season like this. How do you go forward now? Is it we get a new quarterback? What are we going to do? That's up to the organization. It'll be interesting to see how these guys finish up, what direction this organization takes.
I'm wondering, when you're a head coach and you do evaluations, do you give a number to a player coming out in the draft? And if or however you rank him, because that's the one thing I've always said is, well, are they going to take a quarterback, over this guy? And said, well, it depends on the grade. Right. So you have this crop of quarterbacks coming out, and you have Eli Manning, and they're saying, look at the quarterbacks. What's the grade minimum you have to be at that says, okay, we'll think about taking this guy, to where if the grade is X or lower, then, well, we're not going to consider that guy, and Eli still is the quarterback?
Well, you grade the players as you grade them, but the board kind of dictates who the best players are. And let's just say a quarterback is in the top 5 of your best players. Are you in need of a quarterback? Most teams are. If that's the case, you're probably going to take the guy, right? Because that's the position, if you get it right, you have a position in need for every team when you don't have that guy. And if he's a good player, you got a 10-year run with the guy if he can stay healthy. Your organization is set in place for a decade. You can say, I've got this quarterback X, good player. If he doesn't get hurt, we are set for the next 10 years. And you feel good about that because now you got the foundation of your organization set already. So if there's a guy there that you deem this is the guy, then you go get him. You don't hesitate.
And then that would create the next question. Eli Manning as a quote-unquote bridge quarterback.
Yes.
Look what happened with his brother in Indianapolis. When Peyton got hurt and understanding the circumstances were different, he was hurt, and it wasn't clear then that he'd ever be able to come back and play at a top level, which he certainly did in Denver. Maybe not the year they won the Super Bowl, but his first year or two in Denver, he was unbelievable. But forgetting that, they made the decision. We took Luck. He's going to be our guy. We're going to move on from Peyton.
Yes.
Thanks for everything you've done. We love you, but we're moving on. So if you draft, I'm just making this up, now you're the Giants, and you draft Josh Rosen, or you draft Josh Allen, or you draft Baker Mayfield, or you draft one of these guys, do you want to keep Eli there, or do you want to move on from that?
Well, it's interesting you say that. What offense are you going to run when you draft this quarterback? That's critical as well. I mean, is he more mobile? Who are you drafting?
Well, who's the coach? Right now you got an offensive coordinator as the coach who I don't think anyone expects to be back there next year.
Well, and that has something to do with it too. Who is the coach? How are you going to use the guy? Right now they are built to throw the football. I mean, if everyone's healthy, they banked on, guess what? We're going to throw the football quick. We got a West Coast offense. We're going to run it late in the game when we have leads, but that didn't transpire. Now, so the first thing you got to say, well, okay, we're going to throw it because we have the players to throw it. Do you have an offensive line to protect the quarterback, whoever he may be? If you say we get a more elusive quarterback, does that help you? Yeah, because he doesn't have to sit in the pocket. So all these things become a factor. Look, if Eli is not the bridge, he's still worthy enough to go somewhere, let's just say, Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Good running game, great defense, kind of like when they won the Super Bowl, isn't it?
And Tom Coughlin's there.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's right, Tom Coughlin is there. So, is that a factor? That's a factor. I mean, all these things are a factor. All these conversations are talked about. I mean, not whether it happens, we don't know, but he still can play quarterback, but he can't carry the team. That's not who he is anymore. Peyton Manning couldn't carry the team toward the end, but he was smart enough to do the right thing with the ball. He got him in the right play. If you have a team that just needs that, Eli's your guy probably.
And by the way, to answer your question, all the top quarterbacks coming out, again, if Darnold comes out or not, they're more pocket guys, save for Baker Mayfield. He creates more. Mason Rudolph, big guy. Allen, a big guy in Wyoming. Rosen, big 220. These are all 6'4", 6'5" guys, except for Mayfield. He'd be the one guy. So that the quarterback coming out this year, these guys are more, they can create some on the run, but they are, for the most part, pocket passers.
But here's the next thing you got to realize. If you go after a young quarterback and you draft him, and you say, we're going to start this guy, what do you look like? Do you look like Cleveland? Okay. Do you look like Chicago? Or do you look like Houston? According to who the guy is, and you don't know that yet. They don't all just walk in there and go by this way. Deshaun Watson, you're the starter now. Oh, last 5 games before he got hurt, they're scoring 35, 40 points a game. Well, Chicago not doing that. Mm-hmm. Cleveland's not doing that. They got a young guy, too. So who's the guy? Andrew Luck inherits a 2-14 team. Okay, what does he do? 11-5, 11-5, 11-5. But they don't all do that. So it's kind of like, okay, we're wishing that, but that might not happen. It might be Jared Goff. Oh, he's a bust after his first. Oh, he's awful. Not so much. He's awful.
That's the question.
He's pretty good.
Giants, are you willing to start over? Are you
there
willing
you go.
to say we're starting over again?
Yeah, you're starting over. You got a defense. 2 years ago, this defense we talked about, wow. This year, obviously not so much. A lot of the same personnel, but they have the parts for a good defense. Offensively, you're going to get Odell back. You get more receivers. You got to work on the running game. I don't think it's completely broken down like the Browns by any stretch of the imagination. They have some talent on that team, but you would be starting over with a rookie quarterback.
Will he be as good as Carson Wentz was his first year? Carson Wentz started off 5-2, and then all of a sudden, boop, okay, 7-9. Now all of a sudden, Carson Wentz last time I checked, he MVP candidate.
Yeah, a lot of these owners are seeing Dak Prescott come in, do what he's doing, Deshaun Watson come in, and so some of them expected a little more than they should.
Listen, if you guys, and I know you do, remember Eli Manning, when they put him in there in the middle of his rookie year, he looked like he didn't know which end zone his team was trying to go towards.
Yep.
And he winds up putting together a Hall of Fame career.
That's exactly right.
If you draft a rookie, you're making a deal, basically, with I'm going to be bad for a year or so here.
That's right.
If it doesn't turn out that way, then that's an enormous bonus.
Yes.
But we're willing to live with that for 15 years of Eli Manning, starting every single Sunday, there is a value in, and giving you well above average quarterback play.
That's exactly right.
And 2 championships. All right, keep your reaction coming all morning long. We'll take a short break. Herman is here. Much more football to discuss with Mike and Mike on a Wednesday. We're back in just a moment.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here? I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Mike and Mike, congratulations on an incredible 18 years. As my daughter always would say when I was on with you guys, Mike and Mike and Mike. So many great moments, incredible days, tough news, a lot of fun, and you guys handled it all with great aplomb. And I'm trying to think, I have so many favorite shows, but clearly my favorite was when I got to do the show with Golic, and we were darn good as Mike and Mike together. I'm joking. I wish you both all the best, all the success, better friends than it was working with you guys as co-workers. Wish you all the best. Congratulations on an amazing Hall of Fame run.
It's a scary moment for you when he filled in for me.
Listen,
for you.
When Tirico, just very quickly tell this story. Herman is here. I know I've told it before. We were in Cleveland for the NBA Finals, and my plane didn't get out on the night before. So Tirico, who was doing the game on ESPN Radio that night, came in and did the show with you at 6 a.m., and I'm on the earliest flight I could, and I got there about 8, something like that. We land in Cleveland. A car picks me up and is taking me to the arena, and I got the show on, and I'm listening. And at one point, I turned to the guy who was driving, and I said, drive fast.
Yeah.
This guy's better than me. I don't want someone better than me hosting the show. That's not good for me. He is the best. I mean, there is nobody better than Tirico.
Greeny got there and was getting ready to come up, and I was like, hold on. Wait.
Yeah, we're doing just fine.
We're good right now.
But the thing about Tirico, A, he's a great guy, and he's a great friend of both of ours. B, he's so good at everything in this business.
Everything. I had the pleasure of calling a few college games with him, and he is as professional as there is in everything he does. So we certainly appreciate that from Mike. And that Sports Center is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Other wireless providers say they're going to cut your bill in half, but who knows what kind of coverage you're going to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get nationwide coverage on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks, and their no-contract unlimited plan is just $45 a month.
All right, so back to you, Herman Edwards, and I had to cut you off there. I'm sorry because of some mechanics of the clock. But we were talking about if Eli Manning were to get taken off the field, do you as the coach, as the organization, have to take into account his consecutive start streak? That's something that is important to players. Again, he'll surpass Peyton Manning with 2 more of them. He'll never catch Brett Favre to be number 1. Where does that go into this equation?
It goes into it. It'll get done. It's kind of ironic you mentioned that. That got me in trouble in Kansas City with Tony Gonzalez. He had this streak going of catches, and he invites his family, and we were playing a game, and he needed so many catches, and at the end of the game we were winning, and so me, I'm one of those kind of coaches. I play it by the book. I just believe in the integrity of the game is important, and he needed like 2 more catches to break this record, which he's going to break anyway. But his family was there, all this, and so toward the end of the game in the fourth quarter, we have the ball. And we tried to get one to him, didn't happen. I'm going, all right, I'm done. I said, I'm done. I told him, I said, let's run it, let's get out of here. We're done. Okay. Oh boy. So he doesn't break the record. Oh. We win the game. We go in the locker room now, and he won't even talk to me. He's like, and I said, Tony, and I said, Tony. He says, you could have thrown me some screen passes. I said, we're winning by 30 points. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, I ain't a stat guy. I said, You got 3 more games. You're going to break the record. I said, by the way, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. I said, why are you worried about that? But I get it. So when you mention Eli, they're going to allow him to break that record. That will happen. They're not going to say, okay, they don't know. They're going to let him play. He's going to play it out. But the other guy needs to play.
That's not going to affect anything to let him get a couple of more starts and do that. I mean,
but you wouldn't
still
have taken
enough of the season left.
They wouldn't have taken Favre off the field if they were 1-15, no matter what. I guess what I'm asking you is, if you're going to play Davis Webb, is he going to start the game, or are you going to put him in like in the second quarter?
It'd be interesting how they do that, and you can do that. But he needs to play. He needs to get into some. For me, I would get him into live football.
Here's my thought, and again, Herm, you could answer this better than I. At some point, not only get him some live football, but run with the number ones in practice.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're getting when it's 20 reps in team period and the starter gets 15 of them, he needs to get those 15. If you keep it the other way around and give Eli most of those reps and then put Davis in the game at some point, you're kind of cheating him of the practice that he would
No,
he would
you make a great point, Mike, and it's not only Eli. It's any player that you have truly now evaluated in a game. So any young player. I mean, it could be a lineman. It could be a linebacker. It doesn't matter. And I look, it was easy for me. I started a bunch of rookies, and I knew what the outcome was going to be. Well, I'm sitting here with you and Mike now. That's the outcome. And it's okay. I get that part because you're doing what's right for the organization. Eventually, you have to do what's right for the organization. There comes a point to where the only way you can truly evaluate players is when they play in the game. Not on the sideline, not in practice. You have to let them play. And you never know what might happen. You might look at a guy and go, you know what? Okay.
Didn't see that coming.
That's exactly right. Yep. So that's where it's at.
James tweets to us, how about Eli to the Broncos? I wonder if Peyton could help that one out. I mean, if Eli Manning is going to go someplace else, there will be people that will be interested
no doubt.
in
Teams
him.
that are no doubt. He will have a job. He will have an opportunity to play somewhere else.
All that Twitter reaction through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. If your football obsession has strained a relationship, you need 1-800-Flowers.com. For a limited time, 1-800-Flowers is offering up to 40% off best-selling bouquets and gifts, perfect for birthdays and anniversaries. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, I look over here at my screen. And this is kind of interesting, Mike. Don't look if you can see my screen, because ESPN put together a poll, a panel of people, panel of experts, and asked them to pick their MVPs of the league at the midway point of the season. And amongst the 6 top choices, one of them, and only one, is not a quarterback. So take a moment. Don't look it up. Of the top 6 choices amongst ESPN's experts for MVP, only one is a non-quarterback. Who do you think it is? The answer next. Mike and Mike.